What's up YouTube, it's Zapdos TCG here and welcome back to another TCG deck profile video on my channel. Today we are still in the post-rotation hype train and we're gonna check out the Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team GX. This is gonna be paired with Malamar, so it's an alternate take on Malamar versions because we already checked out alternate Necrozma, and this is gonna be paired with Garchomp and Giratina and fighting type energies. So without further ado, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to let me know by destroying the like button, and also let me know in the comment section below what you would change about this particular list. So to start this deck profile off, we're going to be running 2 copies of the Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team GX. This is our main attacker. It dishes out 40 damage to wherever we please with the Lineair Attack. That is actually very interesting. We can snipe a little bit, set up KOs, and also it can one-shot things like Ditto Prism Star or Hoppip, things with low HP. That's fantastic. And with the combination of the Distortion Door of the Giratina from Lost Thunder, we can actually snipe 50, which can be quite crucial in certain situations. We also have the second attack here, dishing out 160 damage, and if the opponent already has damage counters on it, we dish out 240 instead. So 240 will already take a one-hit KO on Pikarom, but of course with the damage spreading around, we can actually set up a KO because with 40 damage and then dishing out 240, you get the majority of all Tag Team GXs, which is awesome. So we're two-shotting and even one-shotting if we rely on things like Spell Attack, Giratina with the Distortion Door ability, or yeah, you can just try and two-shot with Linear Attack. Then we also have Dedenne GX, we can discard one of the opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to it, and that's going to be the only way we're going to be doing that. If it has 3 extra fighting, that cannot be the case because we only run 3 fighting type energies. But yeah, we can discard a Pokemon, but we're not going to be using that GX move unless we have no choice. It could be funny to just discard a Pikarom with like 6 energies. That's always very fun to do. It happens from time to time, but it's even better to just one-shot it. So that's why I'm saying that this GX move will never be your main GX move in a game. Next up, we're going to be running a 4-4 line of Malamar. You should be familiar with this card by now, with of course the Psychic Recharge. You can accelerate 1 Psychic Energies from the discard pile to one of our bench Pokemon, and that's going to be the way we are going to be setting up the Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team GX, putting some Psychic Energies on there, and we also have Viridian Forest to search out that basic fighting type energy, so it's going to be very easy to set this guy up because Garchomp and Giratina GX only needs 3 energies to start hitting for a huge amount of damage. Next up, we're going to be running 4 copies of the Inkay. As mentioned, the 4-4 line of Malamar is going to be the way to go in every Malamar deck from now on. We don't have Nesball, we don't have Ultra Ball, so running a Tick line and Treasures will be the way to go. Next up, 1 copy of the Espeon and Deoxys Tag Team GX. It has the Psychic Club, dishing out 10 damage plus 30 more for each of our bench Psychic type Pokemon. This could be relevant if you want to be one-shotting a Tag Team Mew and Mewtwo GX, but we're going to be using it for the GX move here. Cross Division dishes out, actually let us place 10 damage counters on the opponent's Pokemon wherever we please. So putting 10 damage counters is amazing, but if we happen to get 6 energies on here, we can snipe or actually put 20 damage counters on the opponent's Pokemon wherever we please. So putting damage counters around is very nice because that way we can set up everything that yeah, Garchomp and Giratina GX can then finish. So that's why we're running this. And in the late game, you can also win a game. Oh, I only need 1 more prize card, GX move and snipe the damage on whatever it has damage on it. Or also you can maybe KO something weak like Jirachi, for instance. 1 copy of the Mew and Mewtwo Tag Team GX with the Perfection ability. We'll be able to copy any attacks of all our Pokemon in play. We're going to be using this if sometimes we come across like a fairy type deck and we want to use the attacks of Garchomp and Giratina GX. That way we don't have the fairy weakness and we can copy whatever we please. It can also be like a 3rd copy of the Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team GX, but also if this guy goes down, we can also copy it. So I do think it's a very amazing card. And we also have the way to heal. We do run Psychic Energies, but so we can abuse Miraculous Duo GX as well if we want to heal off all of our Pokemon. Then 2 copies of the Giratina here. This is the Giratina with the Distortion ability. If we smack it down on the bench, we can select 2 bench Pokemon of the opponent and put 1 damage counter on each of those Pokemon. This will help us out to, of course, use that second attack of Giratina and Garchomp Tag Team GX at its maximum value for the 240 damage. But also as a neat 1 price attacker, if you don't want to go heavy on GXs, you can always rely on Giratina because it can come back from the discard pile every single turn if it is in the discard, which is awesome. So if they knock it out, it comes back automatically. Get Psychic Energies on it again thanks to the Malamars, and it's fantastic. Then for consistency, 1 copy of the Dedenne GX. This is going to be nice if we have a dead hand. It also is a great way to get psychic type energies in the discard pile early on, and it's gonna be fantastic if you have it in your deck. Then 2 copies of Jirachi. If we have this, we of course have consistency. We do run a skateboard, and we also have switches in the deck. That means we can rely on the Stellar Wish ability, which is able to look at the top 5 cards, and we can select a trainer card we find there. That could be a supporter, a stadium, or an item. Next, supporters. 4 copies of Lily. Yeah, this is an every evolution based deck. Yeah, Lily is the way to go, because that way we can get, of course, this on the first turn, and if we get it on the first turn, we're definitely gonna get some basics in play very quickly. Then 4 copies of Cynthia as well. This is very similar like the Ultra Necrozma build for supporter wise. This time around, this is gonna be our supporters. 1 Erika's Hospitality, 4 Cynthia, 4 Lily. We are also gonna be running things like Acrobike, and we do have consistency with Jirachi and Dedenne, so I do think these 9 draw supporters are all you need in a version like this. In testing, I also like missed things like Marshall Let Loose, but there's nothing we can do about that. We are going to be running 4 copies of the Mysterious Treasure, just to get, of course, all of our Psychic Pokemon out. All the Pokemon on the left side here can be searched out with treasures, so that's why it's so good. Even the Dragon type, we can search out Dragons or Psychics, so it's fantastic like that. Moving on with that, we're also going to be running 4 copies of the Pokemon Communication. With Communication, we can search whatever we please. So that means if we just have something that we don't want to bench, for instance, Espeon and Deoxys GX, you always want to keep that in the hand unless you're going to use it. So with Communication, we can put it in the deck back again and get whatever we please. This will also be an ideal way to get more Inkay on the first turn, because these are a lot of Pokemon. You don't need 2 of those, you only need 1 in play. So if you have an extra 1 in the hand, you can put it back in the deck and search for whatever you want. It's also a nice way if you get reset stamp to like 2 cards, and one of those Pokemon, one of those cards is a Pokemon, and one of those cards is Communication. That means you have an out with the Dedenne GX. 2 copies of Acrobike makes the deck a little bit faster. I would have loved to include more copies of Acrobike, but I couldn't find the room for it. But Acrobike will be amazing to just dig deeper into your deck, and if you see a Psychic Energy, you can immediately discard it without a downside, since you can reattach them with Malamar. And then 4 copies of the Custom Catcher. As mentioned, Custom Catcher is the way we can gust. If we have 2 of them in the hand, we can select a Pokemon from the opponent's bench and drag it all the way to the active position. So that is fantastic. This is always going to be in almost every one of my deck lists, because I do think gusting is still very powerful. If the TCG has learned me something throughout the years, is that, oh, you have Lysander in hand, you have won the game. Oh, you have a Guzma, you have won the game. So gusting is so powerful. Gusting also helps out because we are going to snipe some damage around. We can gust something up, and we can one-shot it with our big GX beatstick, Giratina Garchomp Tag Team GX. How do we set up even more damage counters on the board? We're going to be also running 3 copies of the Spell Tag. Spell Tag is just fantastic. If we equip it to one of our Psychic Pokemon, which is the majority of our Pokemon deck, we just, if they knock us out, they get 4 damage counters. Actually, we can put 4 damage counters wherever we please. So, and without Field Blower in the format, these are gonna stick. So you can swing in with Giratina early game. You can equip the Spell Tag onto it, dish out 130 damage, and then they strike into you, put 4 damage counters wherever you please. And yeah, I don't know if you do the math correctly, because if you use that on like a Dedenne, and then they strike into you with another Pokemon, that Dedenne still has only 30 damage remaining. That means with Spell Tag you can finish it off. So that's why I love the Spell Tags. It also helps out in a lot of situations. You just strike into like an Inkay early game with a Spell Tag. That means you can put 1 damage counter on 4 Pokemon, which means that Giratina Garchomp will also be dealing 240 damage every single turn against all of those Pokemon. So Spell Tag, very important in a deck list like this. Then 2 copies of Switch and 2 copies of Escape Board. The reason that we're also, in the Ultra Necrozma variant, we ran more switches. This time around, we don't always have to switch, because we can also use Lineair Attack for a single cardless energy to snipe some damage. So that's why I think running 2 Escape Board is also amazing in this kind of list, because we're gonna equip it to Jirachi. We don't always need the effect of the switch, and with Spell Tag, sometimes you can just leave something in the active position, let it get hit, and then you swing back with, of course, our Giratina Garchomp Tag Team GX. Yes, and then 1 copy of the reset stamp. That means we can just put the opponent back to the same amount of prize cards that they have left, and that we can regain a game, because as mentioned, we have our board state with Malamar and Jirachi. If the opponent is running something like a Green's Exploration build, we can use Reset Stamp when the time is right, and that way they will hopefully brick and we can regain a game. So 1 copy of Reset Stamp. Then 3 copies of Viridian Forest. This is fantastic to search out our fighting type energies, but also our psychic energies early game. We can even discard cards from the hand to just open up some room for a big Lily or for an Erica. With Acrobike and Viridian Forest, discarding some psychic energies will be easy as pie. So that's that. Then for the energies, let's just put these cards a little bit more in the center. Yeah, here we go. Okay, for the energies, it's very simple. We're going to be running 6 psychic energies. You could be running an additional psychic energy, but I did notice that with Acrobike and Viridian Forest, getting those energies in the discard pile is actually way easier than it looks. We also have an out with Dedenne GX, so sometimes you have a head like, ooh, I have 2 psychic energies. Well, easy communication, Dedenne, get them in the discard pile, and you just up and rolling to get them and play every single turn. We can, every single game we use Malamar to reaccelerate the energy, so 6 should be enough. But if you're finding trouble, definitely add another psychic type energy in, so you have 7 in total. This time around, 6 should do the trick for testing. Then 3 copies of the fighting energy. I also included a Buzzwole from Forbidden Light, the baby Buzzwole, but I actually cut it from the list last minute because I did know after testing that the way that the opponent works is that they knock out an Inkay, afterwards they knock out a GX or they knock out a tag team, and that means they always skip the baby Buzz turn, and that's why I didn't include it in here. But baby Buzzwole could also help against Pikarom. Not that you're having trouble against Pikarom with a one-shotting machine like this, but still. 3 fighting energies will be sufficient. Sometimes there could be 2 priced. You still have an out to 1, and that's why we're running 3 copies, so we're never gonna miss that fighting type energy. They could also be priced, but we can still take prize cards with other Pokemon. So this is the list for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this deck profile of Giratina Garchomp Tag Team GX. Let me know what you think about the list. Would you change something? Are you a fan of Acrobike? Do you run more supports? Definitely let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know which deck profile I should visit next. Anyhow, have a fantastic rest of your day. Subscribe for more, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace out.